Welcome to our 2023-2024 season for our Winter Speaker Series. This year, as you're aware if you saw our ads, we are exploring Chicago history. So Meg Demakas is here with us today along with some of her colleagues, so she'll introduce everybody to talk to us about the 1933 World's Fair Century of Progress homes. And then on, what day is that? January 14th, Jenny Warner is going to be coming in and she's going to talk about the Great Chicago Fire. So she is a historian and genealogist. So if you have other questions too, that's going to actually be really interesting. Kind of stay after the talk and you can pick her brain on all sorts of topics related to that. And then on March 3rd, does anyone remember St. Nicholas? He was here a few years ago, and then I think I also had President Harrison. So he dresses up, and he is actually in character the entire time. So Terry Lynch will be coming, and he will be in the persona of Daniel Burnham, and he's going to talk about Burnham, Chicago. So it was a 1909 plan that Burnham had for Chicago. So he's going to do that presentation for us in March. So we're really excited about our topics this year, and kind of a little twist on not covering some Cedar Lake history, but still we're certainly connected to the greater Calumet region. So we're gonna talk about Chicago this year. But we got to talk about this year because we have just finished another amazing, incredible season. So for anyone who hasn't been upstairs yet, on May 7th, we debuted the concept room for the future, we hope, hotel at Lassen's Resort. So there you see it in progress. You may recognize your hat there, John. Working hard. And what we ended up with for that particular angle, right, the concept room's there. So if you haven't seen that, we have all the lights turned on, the windows are open, we'll show you around today. We'll take you upstairs after the presentation so that you can see that and our dreams for the future and what we're hoping to be able to do here on the second story of the museum. And then Steamboat stories, a couple of cool stories to share with you real quick. So we finished another amazing season. We have lots of surprises planned for next year, but I want to tell you about the field trips that we had. So we normally bring the third graders out every year. They come from Red Cedars Elementary, which is our new, like third, fourth, and fifth grade elementary school here in Cedar Lake. Well, this year, thanks to some generous donors, we were able to include a steamboat ride for the kids. So there were over 200 kids here with us across 2 days. It was chaos. The boat was like a merry-go-round, taking eight runs in a row. But out of those, it was just over 200 children, 30%, it was their first time ever on a boat. 60% first time ever on Cedar Lake. So we were extremely excited to be able to fulfill our mission in that capacity this year and be able to use the boat in that way, of course, and getting all sorts of other people on the lake too, but especially getting the kids out. So very, very exciting finish to the end of our season. And then, if you're aware, Baby Dewey finally got her sea lake. She's out on the water this year doing her Taste of Nostalgia history cruises and got to sample food. Our chef prepared fresh food on site, brought it down to the boat. Then you went out for a 90-minute cruise, came back to the porch, and you were able to have your freshly prepared dessert as you watched the sunset from the rocking chair. So we'll bring that program back as well next year. I'll have all sorts of details on that for you later on next year. But Dewey Line had a great year, and I am just back from Indianapolis. I got to go to India on October 26th, I think it was, and present before the National Humanities Conference. So this was all of humanities councils from across the nation. Our particular session was called A Crossroads of Histories, Humanities, and Tourism, and we were able to present about the award-winning Dewey Line because Indiana Humanities is the people who gave us that lead grant way back in 2021 to fund it. So we were able to come out, share our program with them, and the chair of the National Humanities Council mentioned our program in her remarks to the the Economic Club of Indiana or something like. She was giving a luncheon presentation, and she upheld our program just by name, of course, but still we were in the mouths of Chair Lowe, which was really incredible to be able to share, exemplary grant program that these humanities councils are putting out. So we were really, really proud. And that's the second time she's called us out. The other time was when she gave her presentation on the Hill. It's pretty cool. So we're excited for our Dewey Line. All right, Give Back Days. I don't have any Dine Out Days scheduled, but I'm looking at Culver's. But our Give Back Days, the second one is coming up on Thursday over at Carol Ann's Candies. 10% of whatever you purchase gets donated back to us. So that's November 9th, and then again in February 8th. And Kelly's Kernels, I just stocked up on Friday. I have like $100 worth of popcorn in my house right now. But Kelly, once a month, all winter long, is going to be doing a Give Back Day as well. So these are both in Cedar Lake, right over by Strax and Rise and Roll in that area. And Morcus is also going to do 2 days, one on Monday, December 4th, and another one on Monday, March 4th. So that information will be coming out to you. So a little bit of a twist on those dine outs that we were doing is you get to go shopping for some sweet and savory treats. Someone's already asking me about the Taylor Ice Fest. So why do I have Christmas trees in the lobby? For the first time ever, we've never set up for Christmas before, not like this for December. The town is hosting Taylor Ice Fest. So that's on December 1st and 2nd. That's a Friday and a Saturday. It'll be from 3 to 9 p.m. You'll park at Lemon Lake, and then they'll shuttle you over here because the parking lot's going to be full of the vendors from Farmers Market, food trucks. Bugaboos will be set up in the old concession stand from the pool there. So they'll be selling different alcoholic beverages. You'll be able to walk the grounds with your snacks. They'll have tents set up with picnic tables underneath, heating tents, as well as fire pits in different spots. Christmas trees will be out there with little ornaments decorated. And then here at the museum, I think 5 o'clock both days we're having cookie decorating. From 6 to 8, Santa's going to ride in on our Taylor ice truck, and then he'll be here from 6 to 8 both days. 7 o'clock is ornament/snowman making here at the museum. And we're talking to NWI storytellers about having them come maybe once on each day to do a Christmassy theme story. We'll have Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life scrolling on the TVs all night long. And Chef will be here preparing some soups. He's going to make ice cutter stew, I think loaded baked potato, and chicken dumpling. So he'll have those available for sale here in our cafe. So for the first time ever in the month of December, the museum's going to be hopping for a couple of days. I don't know how warm you're going to be, because I don't know how cold it's going to be. We're really mild today, so it's really comfortable in here, but we'll do our best to keep you warm. But so we are participating. We're one of the participants in this Taylor Ice Fest. So first time that the town has ever done this, so we hope that we'll see some of you coming out, and vast majority of the events are free, like the ornament making and all that, and then of course shopping and whatnot. So December 3rd, so up at the Field Museum, I had been mentioning to you before that our exhibit was up there, Calumet Voices National Stories, and our artifacts are on display. That closes December 3rd. So if you have not been able to go up there and check it out, the gallery will still be set up for a few more weeks, and you can go and see our items on display before they return home for their permanent exhibit. So I think that's all my announcements. The gift shop's open today, so if you want to buy t-shirts, books, pub glasses, memberships. Your embroidery items have to be ordered from Land's End. You can get beach towels, bags, caps, all the swag that we're always wearing, so you would have to order that online. But yeah, if you have any other questions, I'll be out to answer them after the presentation.
Hi everybody, I was here last year doing Gene Stratton Porter. This is part of another Indiana grant, Indiana Humanities Grant, Indiana Arts Commission grant, National Humanities Grant, South Shore Grant, and it's from our non-for-profit called Family Folklore Foundation. So what we're studying this year is the Chicago 1933 World's Fair and the houses that came over to Beverly Shores. So that's, and we call it World's Fair-y Tales because it's our take on it. And I've been studying, all of us have been studying, we have lots of books. This one I strongly recommend, Al Capone and the 1933 World's Fair. It's fantastic. And then my other favorite one is the official guidebook of, it's 90 years old. And you can get it on Amazon. It's all the visuals, and it's kind of like before it actually happened. So it's like kind of romanticized. It's very beautiful. Okay, so just go like this. Okay, that's our group. Some of us, we have like 14 this year. And I'm learning how to do, I took the photo and then I put it on top of a photo from 1933. Okay, so that's us going back in time. Okay, so the fair started out, now tomorrow morning when you wake up, if the moon is still in the sky, in the west, that's when you'll see Arcturus. And you could see Arcturus in the 1893 fair. It was very bright, but then it had 40 years to come closer to the Earth. And they say that at 120, whatever it is per second, it was that the light was coming our way. And then on May 27th, 1933 at 9:15, the people that were working on the fair got together with, I'll go one more, it's kind of like at the bottom of the Big Dipper. It means they're hunting for the big bear. They got the planetarium, and they had telescopes from all over the country pouring the the ray from the star electrically over telegraph to the switch. And at the switch at 9:15, May 27, 1933, the fair lights turned on 500 acres of neon lights. And it was really fantastic. And here's a picture of it. That was it. So it was pretty amazing. And this is back when, okay, so it looked kind of like that. That's from that. And we're going to be giving a presentation April 19th at IUN in the Main Stage Theater. It sits 500 people, and it's $3 a ticket. And we're going to have the silver screen with these photos on it to take the whole stage. So that's kind of what it looked like. It was amazing. And there's the official guidebook. It shows there's Northerly Island, and then there's Lake Shore, and it goes all the way from the planetarium down to the Science Museum on the shore, and then Northerly Island. Okay. Okay. And it also had the Zeppelin, which was unique. Because the 1893 fair had the Ferris wheel. We have the Sky Ride that goes clear across the fair. See, here's the planetarium. And it also had exhibits in the Art Institute, so it was everywhere. Oh, okay, so this is what architecture looked like then. It was Victorian, the furniture was Queen Mary. Am I saying that right? Something, yeah. It was that heavy stuff, and it looked like gingerbread. That's what it looked like. And if you happened to see Fountainhead last night with Gary Cooper, he built the statue. He built the what's the tallest building? In New York, whatever that is. The Empire State Building. That's what that movie's about, and the book, Ayn Rand's book. And that was what they were trying to do, break into the future. So it's called the Century of Progress. It's from when, it's either when Illinois became a state in 1833 to 1933. They called it Century of Progress. I call our group the Millennium of Progress. And Todd Ziegler, who is helping us with our presentation, he's from Indiana Landmarks. He made this map that shows how they went, the houses, that's the house of tomorrow. It went all the way down to Beverly Shores. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yes, I'll show you. It came on a barge pulled by a steamboat, and that's one of the reasons why the family folklore people have been going. We went on the steamboat rides 2 years in a row, and because we wanted to experience the heat. We liked it a lot, And here's another. These are very rare pictures, and they're at the Beverly Shores Historical. I have permission to put these, and we're making a book. So that'll be on for just wholesale. It's $5. So we'll have it from our study. So that is the Rosestone House on its way over, and they use a crane. Okay, I'll show you. Here it is coming to the dock that they provided. There's the steamboat. And this was in the winter. See, they did it in 1933, and then Roosevelt became the president, and it was kind of like the Taylor Swift thing, where our economy improved. Our economy improved because of the fair. It was the first fair to make money, so they did it an extra year. So this was in the winter of 1935, and the weather got bad. So one of the boats had to go over to Michigan City, and wait till the weather got better. They could, but Okay, so these houses were brought up by horses and mules. Even though mules in northern Indiana weren't common, they needed them because they made like a corduroy road out of telephone poles. And like when the house would get past one, they'd put the log in front and then that's how they rolled them. And one of the reasons why I was interested in this, that's my family, this is me. This is 1955, and we were getting a Cooper home from Gary to Woodmar. We were like the first house on our block, and our house kind of came like that. It came on a truck, and then they put rails. That's how they got it in there. This is back, you know, what were my parents thinking? And you know, and then here's, see, this is kind of like the same idea. I couldn't believe when I saw all this. And then they use jacks. See how they're jacking it up? And they use something called cribbing, which you guys probably know what that is. Okay, so then, this was my grandfather. He went to the fair. Edwin Granfield, he was a twin. And he told us about mules, how if you get your cart stuck in the mud in a creek, you better have a mule nearby because horses cannot get you out. So, and then he loved the fair. He would tell us about how tall everything was, how big everything was. So he we had a lot of different reasons for being inspired. And so my brother, Dan Granfield, this is not the cover that we ended up with, he wrote about the relocation of the Century of Progress exhibit homes to Beverly Shores. And if you want to buy one of these, they're $7 today. They're $10.95 on Amazon. But this is, he was in a couple of magazines, and he did some television interviews. I held the camera. And I think I've got the email, I think I've got the YouTube address in here. I hope not, I hope I do. But I can also send it to you. But he interviewed a man who was like in his 20s. He was getting the sand off the road, you know, like, and they used a snowplow for that. And he said he turned around and on this barge, he saw, because they couldn't even afford the papers back in 1930s. You know, he had heard from something, you know, that we were going to, and he said, the fair is coming, the fair is coming. It's 1935. Yeah, and so anyhow, that's in that book. Okay, so this is our group. Some of us freezing people last winter. And, you know, we have all ages here. And our mission, I guess I didn't put that thing in here. We have a magazine called Club Muse magazine from our different studies, and we also have a hardback version of it. But our mission, I say, okay, I'm a retired teacher. Even though I teach over at IU, I was a fourth grade teacher for like 10 years, and before that reading and all kinds of stuff. And then I met Becky Swerden when I started teaching at South Haven many, many moons ago. And then Annette Henson is over at Discovery School, and my daughter taught with her. And so we're all some of the crazy people that love the fair, and we're learning about it. And she actually really knows about this stuff. I'm just learning. Okay, so this is the Arco Faro building, and it's in good repair now. And we just got done taking the tour in September, and I was saying it was like the Taylor Swift. I got on the phone 15 minutes before 9 a.m. and I got 14 tickets. And everybody's like, how did you do that? And I said, I don't know, I woke up and remembered. And then we've got to go up here and go in this house. It's made out of cypress trees. That's illegal now. You cannot use cypress, you know, because they were running out of them. And my daughter, who's not here, Mandy, she's like, Mom, I was in the cypress forest, and you know, so she's like doing that. She's doing we're doing the paintings for our book, and Becky's going to talk about her. She's doing the Florida house, and Robert Barrett, I think I'm saying his name, Barnett. He and his brother had the biggest real estate business in Chicago, and he wanted to get people over here to Beverly Shores, and he wanted to have the Florida influence.
I just wanted to say that you probably aren't interested, but I went to see the Barbie movie, and now that's supposed to be the pink Barbie house.
That's right, it is. Yeah, and so he used that kind of architecture, like the television, the train station is that kind of architecture too. And it was because Florida back then, even though they thought it was a backwater state, they were trying to get people to go down there. And my grandparents moved. I was from the South Side. My grandparents were from the South Side. They moved down to Florida and got a house. Well, not that fancy. It was a 2-bedroom. Okay, and so then this is the rose stone, and it's made out of, all that rose stone is gone now, except for right around here. That's the, because these houses were made for 3 months. They were only supposed to last 3 months, and it's been 90 years. And so, but they've come up with a stone that's similar, but it's sturdier for us. So this is what all the houses should look like, torn up and rotten, instead of like that. But they just got a $2 million grant from the dunes and from the landmarks. I think those are the 2 places to do the outside. So they're hunting for somebody with deep pockets. If anybody'd like to go live in there, you can live in there. All you have to do is renovate the inside, and you can stay for 50 years. Is anybody interested? No. The people that are there are like, you guys must be rich. They're like, we used to be. Yeah. So this is us. We went on location taking painting lessons. We were giving painting lessons, taking painting lessons, and offering it to the public. And it doesn't matter how young you are. There's some more painting going on. Actually, those are 2 of my girls. Jessie, Mandy's the one that worked at Discovery, and Jessie, she's also with technology and things. And these 2 kids are also in the group. They were doing tree houses. And so that's for Annette. Annette's going to be talking to you about what she does with her art students on this topic. And then I think Becky, I'm trying to talk her into it. She's like a wonderful puppeteer. And we're hoping she's going to do something with the dunes, because we've got the puppets, we've got the talent, we've got the dunes, and so that's going to be part of the project. And we're also working with Canva, if anybody can help me. It's because we're making our book online, and so that you can see videos too. And then we also do this. This boat comes from Michigan once a year if there's not a pandemic. And they go out and they check water quality. And they let us check water quality, and it's free. So we get a free boat ride for a couple of hours, and you can see it's pretty popular. So that gives us our Lake Michigan boating experience. And then here we are, over here. Those are 2 of the kids, yeah, that's a little too close. And then here, this is the main stage theater that we're going to be performing at IUN in the new Arts and Science building. So we want to welcome you. We're going to be dressed up as houses coming across the lake, so you don't want to miss that. Okay, so in the Al Capone book, it talks about how hard it was to even think about having a World's Fair, because in the 20s, and this was until 1933, there was prohibition, and all the women who worked so hard to get the vote, and it was such a serious thing, they suddenly become hedonists and want to be flappers and drink, so it got pretty crazy in the 20s. For instance, we want beer. It wasn't against the law to drink beer. It was against the law to buy beer and to sell beer. So like even a still, you can't have a still because the government wants to tax it. It's all like complicated. So we had that going on, prohibition. Then we had Black Tuesday, where the stock market fell out, and it affected everybody. Wanted a decent job, family. So this is what was going on in 1933. So, and then we also had Al Capone, and he was making money. He applied the Ford concept of division of labor and assembly line and all that, but for making money doing illegal things. Then they had the St. Valentine's Day massacre. It was getting really bad. So we had crime, we had poverty, we had crime and poverty. And then, this is interesting, it's in this book. There was somebody called the Secret Six, and they were the equivalent of today's billionaires. They were richer than God. No, they were richer than Al Capone. And they caused his demise. So he went to jail in 1933, which helped our cause. Now, the Americans were not big on science because of chemical warfare in World War I. So, in order to make this fair work, they wanted to make people believe that science was okay. It's called Science Finds, Industry Applies, and Man Conforms. So there were all these exhibits, like Henry Ford wanted to have an exhibit. And they're like, well, we don't have any money for you. You know, the people that formed the fair, they didn't have any government backing. This was the first fair that didn't have. And they said, if you put your exhibit together, you can build. So he started making 200 cars a day in his exhibit. And then he also had a raceway where they'd check and see how good they drove. Well, they had exhibits like, and so it was the first fair that was paid for by commercial, not by government. And there was a lot of science experiments, science, health, you name it, it was going on. Like they had the Science and Industry Museum. Okay, and then another motto was determination. This young lady is the female mascot. Her motto is, I will. So that's the fair. And then here's some of the different buildings. Sears and Roebuck's, American Radar and Standard Sanitary Building, Time and Forum Building, Firestone. They had millions of buildings all around. And then here's one angle, the planetarium. And then you go all the way down to the Science and Industry Museum. All along the lake shore there are exhibits, and on Northerly Island. There's the Goodyear blimp. There's the sky ride. And here's another book that was kind of controversial, I thought. It's called Broken Icarus, and it was about our ideas of flight. For instance, in the building that, the House of Tomorrow, how many of you know they had an airport? In the house, there's an airport. Because they thought, hangar. They thought everybody was going to have airplanes. You know, so that's what this book is about. Once people got tired of trying to go up, then they started to try to go horizontal. It's like, oh, okay, this is more information than I know how to do it. Okay, but the sky ride was fantastic. It held a lot of people, like 200 people. And then Sally Rand, the fan dancer. That's a whole great story, but she caused the amount of people to come to the fair to, like triple. So they really loved her. And here we are at, we really were taking a trip through the houses. And we weren't able, that's my brother, if anybody had Steve Granfield for a podiatrist. And then Sue has the Panorama Now, if you know that magazine. Panorama Now, they tell about everything that's going on. And she's got the Fox Art Museum, and then that's my sister-in-law, Darlene Martinez. World's Fair, Illinois Central Electric, 10 cents. Oh, it costs 50 cents to get in. So the people that would get 50 cents in, and there was like 20,000 people the first night. And there was like 50 million that came in the 2 years. And they made $1 million profit. There you paid 10 cents more to go into some things. Let's see that. Let's see. These just show some of the things. There was lots of restaurants. Swift and Company had a theater. This is a lovely painting by Annette. That is the Rosestone.
Mm-hmm. From the beach side.
Mm-hmm. From the beach side. Yeah, she did it from the lake, looking at the lake, being on the lake, looking at. And then this is the Cypress home. And then, Becky, did you want to talk a little bit about the Florida home?
I can talk.
Okay, if you come on up, Becky Sworden, one of the group members.
Well, first of all, I was born in Gary, Indiana, and grew up on the east side.
And my dad worked for the J, and I say that because there were at one time 8 high schools in Gary, and each high school had a neighborhood. And he was, when he was growing up, he went to Horseman High School. And he was in the marching band, and I found out that he got to go to the fair and perform with the marching band. So that's my
Claim to
link.
fame.
Yeah.
That's good.
Meanwhile, when I came along, we were on the Emerson side, which was the east side. And I ended up graduating from Ward. It was one of the other neighborhoods. When I was teaching with Meg, I taught 3rd grade primarily. And my colleagues and I scoped out and planned a Chicago field trip. And one thing that Meg said that reminded me is we would have a pre-trip meeting for all the parents because many had never been to Chicago before. And we would take a bus up until 911, then they wouldn't let us, we used to go to the top of the Hancock building, and it was just incredible. We had to revamp the whole thing after 911.
You mean 9/11?
Yeah, 9/11. And we would take the train in and then walk down the Magnificent Mile. And it was still nice, but we ended up taking the boat tour. And so if you ever get a chance, that's really a nice trip, the architectural. And so I had students that had never been to Chicago, never been in on Lake Michigan. And one thing we always cautioned them was when we came out of the train station, they would just be in awe at all the tall buildings because we were in South Haven, you know. Okay, you stole part of my thunder, but I wondered if anybody had ever heard of Barbie.
Oh,
How many of you have seen the movie? Did anybody go?
yeah.
I saw it, and I was really excited. I thought it was good. Well, my house is the Florida Tropical House, and it's work in progress, but
Annette is our
they
artist
call
in
it
this.
they call it the real Barbie house of Lake Michigan, and it's a dream house. So one thing I'd always wondered about is what do these houses look like inside? It was just, you just try and imagine it. Well, when we got to go on the tour, I solved my curiosity. And the Barbie house, it was really good. I think Annette's house, the Rose Tone house, is the best. It was just like kind of open and 2-story, and it was just gorgeous. And what I liked a lot about it was there were rooms like this that just had window to window onto Lake Michigan, and it was gorgeous. Well, one thing about my house, the Barbie house, was for almost 90 years, it's been a navigational aid to boaters on Lake Michigan. They would look for my house, and oh, there's the pink house. Okay, Barbie house. I did learn also that when these houses became available to lease, one of the things that they discovered was the Barbie house was listing toward the lake. And they ended up putting 192 foundation piers just to level it. I can't imagine how much that would cost.
Yeah, and they had the people had to pay for it.
When we were in the house too, there were original murals on the wall. It's just gorgeous, it's really, and all Art Deco. One last thing, and I'll be done. But my maiden name, my dad's name, is Olmsted, Olmstead, and one of my ancestors was a landscaper for Chicago, for the lakefront, and about, 10 years ago, this is another place you could put on your bucket list. My husband and I went to the Biltmore out in North Carolina. Have any of you been there? Isn't it fantastic? Well, they hired my ancestor, Olmsted, to come and do all the landscaping. And, okay, the last thing is, in Portage, where I live today, there's an Olmsted Street that goes right up to Bass Pro.
That reminds me, I didn't tell you what our mission is, Family Folklore. Our mission is to educate people of all ages about the world and then to share it with the greater public. That's our mission. So that's why we're here. And then the fair was called the Rainbow City. The other one, the 1893 was called the White City. And this is because they had a 24 color palette. Everything was 20, because they knew that in the future, and it's true, we can get any kind of color we want for the outside of our houses or the inside. When I got done looking at those houses, I stopped at my daughter's house on the way, and I'm like, your house looks like it came from the 1930 fair, you know. And, you know, we take it for granted that that's how houses look. To look at a house that is like from the 1930s or the 1920s, it looks very different, but our houses are modern now. We did learn a lot from them. Well, I think that we're pretty much done with this. I don't know what I did here, but this is my rendition of the House of Tomorrow. And okay, so this is cribbing, in case you needed to know, which I didn't know. This is, oh, I know, it's box and tackle. Tackle, like when you fish, the tackle's the strings. There's a pulley, you have more than one, it means more than one pulley. You can have 10, you can have 20, and the rope is the tackle. One of the guys that my brother was interviewing, he said they would wrap a rope all the way around the house because that would give it more something, strength, more, I don't know. But anyhow, I'm still learning that. And then they use new things because they had to build the houses fast and they didn't have a lot of money. So that's when they started using asbestos board, fiber board, wallpaper, you know, yes, all that stuff.
The good stuff.
Compressed wood. And then this is the houses. There's Lake Michigan. There's the Rosestone, the Florida. Then you come this way, the House of Tomorrow and the site. And then this advertises a little bit about what we're going to go. We're going to be doing, this is what we do, a live radio play. We may have papers in front of us, but I think this time we're going to pre-record ours so we don't have to worry about the sound system. It's going to be at the main stage. It's going to be Friday, April 19th at 11. Everybody's invited. It's $3 if you want an official, I'm calling it an official guidebook. That's what they do. $5, that's wholesale. And come enjoy a walk in the past to learn about the first modern World's Fair. See the century of progress houses that were transported to to Indiana. And then here's the people that are helping. We also use private money and also organizations. Okay, so now it's your turn. And this is Annette. This is Annette Hansen, and she's going to tell us about what she does with her art students.
Okay, that's right. So I work with Discovery Charter School. This is my 14th year. I started when they opened in 2010. For a long time before COVID, I wrote Indiana Arts Commission grants, just like how Megan got her funding for this project. And for my project, it allowed us to take school children to the Art Institute of Chicago, to Lebesnick Arts Center, and to see the Century of Progress homes. We did an art and architecture project. What I would do is usually work with 6th graders or 7th graders, and I would have them start out in the classroom learning about the homes individually. They would divide into 5 groups, and each group then would be responsible for learning all the nuts and bolts of each house, how it was put together, why it was designed the way it was, etc. Then we would go out into the field and we would walk down lakefront and see all the houses from the outside because we couldn't have that special permission to go inside. They only do that once a year. We were lucky enough. Finally, the voyeurism inside of us was like, finally, yeah.
But we couldn't take pictures because those were private. Yeah. They bought their own furniture.
So nobody gets to see the insides except for those old pictures from the 1930s or 40s.
Yeah, they're in these books.
So then what we would do is, in conjunction with the Beverly Shores Historical Society, we would create projects, and every year we did something different. When my son was a 7th grader back in 2017, his group made chairs. And thank you to the people who helped me carry my chairs in. But each chair was redesigned to look like the houses or to become part of the house. We can pull them out individually. I don't know if the camera's gonna see those, but hold on. So what they did was, these were chairs that were repurposed from a Wendy's restaurant. And my husband is a remodeler, so he got the chairs that, he called me one night, I'm gonna pull these chairs out of a dumpster, let's see if we can save them. But each one, the children chose the fabric, they chose the colors. If they wanted to add any design motifs, they could do that. This one, I should have you guess, but this one is the Armco Farrow house. The Armco Farrow house is built with enameled metal panels, and it's such a boxy house that you can actually lift it up and flip it upside down and it would be the same footprint and the whole deal. When the houses were first designed, the idea was that the architects were challenged to create homes that would be part of the future, as well as, am I not in the camera frame? Okay, how about that?
That's nice.
That they would be,
Enamel.
that they would be affordable to the modern family, that there's certain criteria that they had to meet. And I think the Armco Fair House is the only one that actually met the criteria for all of the things that they wanted, for the challenge of creating the houses. This one was created for the Cypress log.
Oh, cypress, right, the wood.
Right. Now this one's had a challenging science experiment happen to it at my house.
Yeah, what is,
They've been used and loved in the garage and the shop. But the children then, took their inspiration from the fact that this particular house is created from cypress wood. And it had a lot of Native American type of a feel to it, Old West. So they chose the fabrics that matched. This one was for the Rosestone Webuilt house.
yeah, it's rose.
And they picked up that word rose, right? And used that as part of the motif. The Rosestone house, the Rosestone were panels of substrate. And the idea was that they would clip and hang on to a frame structure. So when they, like Megan said, those houses were only meant to last during the fair, not very long.
And they bought them for a very small amount of money.
and then when Robert Bartlett brought them across to bring more awareness to his Beverly Shores project, they're trying to get people to come across the lake to live and play at Lake Michigan. The Rosestone panels didn't last very long, and they fell apart. In fact, in talking to the man during the tour who did all the restoration, they came as closely as they could. So they went back to the Rosestone company and they got as close to the match as they could. But like Megan said, only the front entryway continues to have the original Rosestone panels. Now this one, the seats are a little more iffy.
I wanted to add something. This is the House of Tomorrow.
It is the House of Tomorrow.
Well, when we went on the tour, my 2-year-old assistant, who I have 2 days a week, came with us. And when we got here, we walked in the ground floor where the airplane was supposed to be kept. And I remember thinking, oh my, I don't think you could fit an airplane. There were like pipes and everything. Okay. So then the steps going up are spiral. So we got to the main floor and there was like tape, like caution tape, and a chair. So I took Henry and we went and sat down on the side, and I'm sitting there and I told Meg, I looked and there were like holes in the
There's a
floor.
hole next door. Yeah, that place is dangerous right now.
We were just
Very
shocked that they
dangerous.
let us in.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
actually walking
I asked her if
around.
she saw the bathroom. She goes, no, I didn't. I said, well, you wouldn't recognize it. It was the bathtub and the toilet, and they were totally covered with everything. It was terrible.
It would be nice to see
It was an eyesore.
done.
Okay,
So
you've got
the House of Tomorrow, you saw it, it's kind of a octagon type of a shape.
It's got 12 sides.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the house of tomorrow, so.
The children chose map fabric with airplanes all over it, because it's got a hanger in it, right?
yeah.
And lots of blues and whites because of all the windows. The concept of this house was that the entire structure would be covered in, the exterior would be glass, and it would hold the heat so nicely. Also, the interior had sliding panels, so you could turn a floor that had 4 bedrooms, slide the panels back and divide it, and you could have 2 living rooms, or open it up and have a whole open structure. It was a pretty cool idea, actually. Those panels are not there anymore right now. Yeah.
Nothing's there.
Yeah. Holes in the floor. Right?
Holes in the floor.
But I mean, with your imagination, you can kind of tell. There's still a few little ornamental things that were left behind and still in place. So if you really turned on your imagination, you could get there. And our last house, obviously, is the pink, the Florida
Flamingo.
house.
Oh, there's a
And
flamingo.
they chose flamingos because it was supposed to
There
be
you go.
Florida house. And of course, the whole thing is pink. So that was a great project for them. Not only were they learning about the houses, and then when they were on their personal tour in the field, they had to share with the rest of the group what they knew about each house as they stood before it. So that was really great. And then by doing this restoration project to a chair, it was like they were learning more about the restoration that the homes themselves had to go through in order to be what they are today. Yeah.
So pretty cool.
Yay, there it is.
All right. And so, thank you, you made me think of something. So when I'm gonna be, the House of Tomorrow, I'm gonna be like Charlie Chaplin, you know, the hobo. And on the front, I'm gonna have a caftan, and on the front, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna look, you know, like a beat up house. And then on the back, it'll be how it used to be. And if you could have seen me in 1933, you'd have been impressed. 90 years ago, I personified Art Deco with the geometric designs reflected in Egyptian architecture, so popular in the 20s and 30s. King Tut was in the 20s, that's when they discovered him. I was the opposite of Victorian architecture. No radiator heat or dark walnut panels for me, no siree. I had 3 floors of plate glass walls. And central air conditioning and central heat in the middle stem. It was like a tree like Frank Lloyd Wright designed. 42 feet in diameter with an open concept. The central post from top to bottom was borrowed from Frank Lloyd Wright. No hours of hand washing dishes. I had the first dishwasher. I also had the first iceless refrigerator with an electric eye. They learned how to do that so that if the door was open, we knew it. And my garage door had an electric eye, so it was an electric garage door opener.
For your airplane.
And we also had, right, and the airplane hangar, yes, I was all ready to do, because I knew every family would own their own airplane in the future. 4 walls, no, I had 12 walls. I was a dodecagon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's it, and I have a few flyers like this if you're interested, and that's it, we're done.